Oh, come on. Battery. I'm gonna plug this bitch in. It snapped me. Ah! Hi, everybody. So in my adventures on the internet lately, I've come across a lot of people who have been talking about wanting to become creatives and like people who produce creative works like writing or painting or drawing or comics or just creative industry stuff, as opposed to, say, like working in an office like 9 to 5 and then like coming home and surfing their life away on the internet. And I feel like I need to point out that like surfing your life away on the internet isn't necessarily a bad thing, I guess. Like, if you don't like surfing the internet, then maybe you should do something. Which is what kind of this video is about. This video is Jessie's tips for being creative. And you might be thinking, like, who is this chick? Why does she think she can give me advice on how to be creative? So for those of you who don't know me, I went to school for 4 years to study animation, and now I have a job as an animator working on TV shows that you maybe have seen if you like Daniel Tosh, or like young children's programming. But one thing that comes with going to work every day as an animator is that I kind of have to force myself to be creative sometimes. I have tips that kind of help me out on being creative like every day. Not only creative as a job, but creative in your own spare time. Because if you work that 9 to 5 job in a cubicle or at a desk or something, then you can still come home and like do your own thing. Like, there's nothing ever stopping you from just doing stuff. Like, the stuff part can be a little bit tricky if you don't know where to start. So here is, I wrote down some stuff that I would like to share with you guys. I've always found creativity to be kind of a skill. There are some people who can appear to be more creative than others, but I don't think that's true. I think everybody, literally everyone, has the capability of being creative in one way or another. It doesn't have to be drawing or painting or sculpting. You can just be creative by writing stuff. And the way you get better at being creative is by being creative over and over and over and over again. And like, that's a weird thing to say, because like if you don't know how to be creative, then it's hard to be creative repeatedly. So tip number 1, if you don't have an art or something that you like creating, then my advice is to try things until you find something that you don't hate doing. It doesn't have to be passion. That's one thing that I keep hearing over and over and over and over again, is that artists have to be passionate about what they're doing. And I don't completely agree with that, because I feel like the only reason I really went into animation is because I liked drawing. Like, I've done it like my whole life, but like that doesn't mean I'm good at it, and that doesn't mean that I've always been good at it. The only reason that I have any level of skill now is because I've been doing it over and over and over and over and over again, and now I kind of don't suck at it. Supposedly. I don't know. They pay me, so I just assume that maybe I don't totally suck. Like, that can take a really, 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 really long time. But the more you do it, the less crappy you get at it. That's the secret to being creative. You do something until you stop sucking. That leads me to number 2. Accept the fact that you suck. And that you're probably going to suck forever. And that's not to say that you actually suck. It's just mandatory for all artists to secretly hate their own work. They say that you're your own worst critic, and artists are notorious for never seeing the value in their own work. And I hate to make a blanket statement about all artists, but it's pretty commonplace for artists and creatives to do something and then hate it because it's not as good as things that they've seen, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. It doesn't make it any less awesome as its own piece. Oh my god, plane! Number 3. Study other people's work. You can practice by drawing things that people have already done that you like. That's really good training advice for style stuff or color or structure. This is fine. Drawing from other people's work is perfectly fine on its own. The problem comes when you post those studies on the internet. Then you get into really sticky things like plagiarism and like, it's yuck. As a new artist, it can be really, really tempting to want to show everyone all the work you've done all the time. Copying people's work just to study, perfectly acceptable. Posting that on the internet, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. That's a really bad idea. Number 4, be creative every day. Create something from your head or study something every day. Even if it's just a paragraph, even if it's just a shitty poem or like a crappy sketch or like just a doodle. Just be creative every single day. This is one of the hardest pieces of advice I can give because like it can be so easy to just come home and be like, I'm gonna sit over here and just like, I'm just so tired. But you have to resist that urge, even if it's just a little bit, just a tiny little bit. It's important to just make something. Or like, you know, as often as you can, schedules pertaining and stuff. Number 5. Now that you're creating stuff, it is now your obligation to show others your work. This one might not be true, but you should still totally show people your work, people! There are so many people who want to see the stuff you make, the stuff you write, the stuff you create. We want to see it. People want to see it. If you made a video, or if you did an animation, or you wrote this really cool world, what's the point in being creative if you're just making things and then not showing anyone? You have to show people. That's a rule. That's a rule. That's for me. I want to see. Number 6. Learn to accept critique. Understand that your artwork is not you. It's important to recognize the difference between constructive criticism and jerks. A mistake I found that a lot of young artists make is that when people try to give them constructive criticism, they shut down. This is their thing, they made it, they don't care what anyone else thinks because this is just the thing they've made. Whenever people give constructive criticism, they're not expecting you to edit or modify the thing you've already made. It's just a good idea to take what they've said and then apply it to future works. Critique is a very, very, very important part to evolving as an artist. I, as an animator, get revisions and critiques like every day. Like every single day on scenes that I like, on scenes that I've worked super, super hard on, and on scenes that I don't give a shit about. And if I took it all personally, I'd probably spend my whole day crying in the bathroom. But critiques and constructive criticism are not reflections on you as an individual. It's just on this piece of work. You've done this piece, now it's time to let it go. And then move on to your next thing! That's where doing it over and over and over again is really, really important, because you do the thing, you push it away. Then you take all the things you learned from this thing and put it in the new thing, and then you make it, you go, and it's awesome, and then you just keep making things, and you keep getting better and better and better, and you're keeping all the things on the mind that people are telling you, and it's awesome, and you're growing! That's how you grow as an artist, with feedback. 7. It's my style is not a valid excuse for a shitty drawing. Style are just mistakes that you make consistently. What? Like, that's not... yeah, okay, that's your style, but that's still a crappy drawing. Like, that's terrible. Refer to my previous point in accepting criticism. 8. Being creative and being an artist is like studying for an exam that never comes. You should be constantly evolving as an artist. You are studying for probably, hopefully, the rest of your life. And, like, there are worse things to study. Like, I personally wouldn't be able to study for, like, a med exam or something. You should be constantly studying everything around you. Like, things, the way hills go over and trees pop up, or the way that people move, or the things that people wear, or the things that other people have said or written or done. You should always be studying. That's how you that's a big part of how you get better as an artist and as a person, I guess. 9. When you create something, give it purpose. Give it a narrative or a story or something to say. This is something that I struggled with a lot when I was in school. Because it's really easy to want to draw or write or make something that looks super badass or super cool or super awesome or whatever, but that doesn't mean that people will want to look at it. You know, there's only so many cool punching poses you can get before they all kind of end up looking the same. And it takes practice. That's where the being creative as a skill thing comes on. One thing to, like, just doodle around and fiddle and fart and, like, create some work, and then it's another thing to create something that, like, has life. But whenever you sit down to doodle something or whatever, just think, like, why is this person doing this thing? What's happening here? And what's happening in this world? Where are they from? Where are they going? Why do they care? Why do I care? And that can really liven your work. Don't just go for what you instinctively think is cool. It's just a good idea to look for the why, I guess. Learn to recognize your ideas. When your ideas come to you in any shape or form, write those fuckers down. I carry this little journal around. It costs me like $10 or something, and like I write down like my video ideas and like all kinds of stuff in it, because whenever an idea comes to you, it's really easy to just let it sit in your head and be like, that's a really good idea, and then not do anything with it. Or worse, you're like, that's a really good idea, I'm gonna do that later. And then you go to do it and you've completely forgotten what it was at all. It's just a really good habit to get into, and like, if you find like cool words or you see neat things that you like, you can just write them down. It's kind of a weird artist thing to like buy a journal and then be like, it's so precious, I will only write down the best ideas in there. But like, you need to write down your shitty ideas too, just so you can write them down and be like, that was an idea, and then you can come back to be like, oh, that's not really what I wanted, that's kind of lame now, and you just whatever. Like, you should be going through like a million sketchbooks and like a bajillion tiny journals on your journey to becoming a creative, better artist. Those are just my tips for being creative, and they're kind of things that I try to keep in mind whenever like I'm doing my own personal work, or if I'm at work being paid to do stuff, or like just floating around, being a weird entity. I hope they were a little bit helpful at least, or somebody liked them. Oh, I guess on YouTube people ask people to like and subscribe, so if you wanted to like or subscribe based on this, that would be cool, I guess.